right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the New Media Show. My name is Todd Cochran, and I'm joined by my co-host Rob Greenlee this morning, and we're big news. We're kind of hinted at it last week. We're going to talk about changes at Microsoft and also Rob's new job. So, Rob, welcome to the show. You've had a busy week.
Yes, it's been exciting, and I've been down in Los Angeles for the last 5 days. I just flew in, like my plane just got in at 12:30 last night. So it's been fun. It's a big change for me. I mean, I've been working on the whole Microsoft podcast area for 7 years, and this is a big shift. I mean, really, honestly, I was thinking that at some point, some opportunity like this might come up. I stayed in the space for a long time. I have a lot of hope and vision for what this podcast medium can become, and I always thought that my path may wind up back in Hollywood, back in Los Angeles, working on the content side. And it's funny how things work out when you kind of think like that. And it isn't that I purposely did this. It's just the opportunities come your way as you move down this path, and as the medium develops. I think anyway that the technology will hopefully kind of blur into the background of everybody's lives, and we all start talking about content again, and that's the natural flow of all this stuff. And if you look at TV, radio, music, that the technology should be, basically making this content easy to consume wherever you want it, and that content will rule the world at some point, and will be less focused on the whiz-bang cool technology pieces and struggling with the user interfaces, and be more focused on doing terrific content that's easy to access. I mean, just look at a radio, like Howard Stern and those big talkers. It's all about content. People don't care how they get it; they just want to get access to it. And I think that's a big lesson for podcasting too. Is it? And so anyway, that's kind of a long pathway. Just to say that I kind of always thought that I'd wind up back on the content side, and that's where I am. So,
well, and just so folks know, Rob has left Microsoft, and he's now the CTO. Is that the correct?
Yes,
CTO
that's correct.
Down at Podcast One, working with Norm Batiste and the team down there. And I've been down in Norm's office, and Norm's a pretty high energy guy. So how's
Yeah, I mean, he's an amazing guy. I mean, being his age and the pace that he keeps in his life is just amazing. And Todd, you know exactly what I'm talking about. He is not short on ambition or desire to get things done, and he's basically a problem solver and a deal maker and a salesman at heart. And that's what enabled him to build Westwood One into the radio syndication powerhouse that it turned out to be, that still exists. I mean, it isn't like Westwood One is gone. He's just left the company because of business reasons, and he saw a new opportunity here to take podcasting to the next level. I mean, he sees a lot of the same growth patterns and the same things going on with podcasting that happened on the syndicated radio side back in the 70s. This guy is a legend in the radio business. There's no question. I mean, just being down there working with him, all the stars and the celebrities that he knows are walking in the door all day long, and it's like he's connected to the pulse of what's happening down there with talent and creative talent down in Los Angeles and actually around the world, frankly. So yeah, I mean he's an interesting guy.
So I'm sure your first week was probably just trying to figure everything out.
Yeah.
And I know it probably takes, normally when you walk into a new job, it takes you a little while to get that kind of pulse of what's going on. And
I mean, there's about 30 people that work for the company or in some capacity in the company, and so yeah, you got to meet everybody. You got to figure out who does what pieces are missing and what pieces need to be improved and things need to be optimized. And I need to get to know, the other executive team too. And it's I've enjoyed the process. I think that the team is really, really committed to charging forward with with podcasting in general. And I think that it's an interesting mix of kind of old business success in combination with new technology, and the company is wanting to become what I would consider more of a tech company, but their foundation is around content and around talent and about distribution and sales and deals and things like that with advertisers, and that's a powerful combination when you bring those worlds together. Todd, I'm sure you know exactly what I mean.
And it's not always the easiest thing to do either, especially in this space, because this space you're always you're fighting preconceptions and a whole bunch of other stuff too to go along with it. So it's like
you're battling kind of new perceptions for what this podcast medium can become and what it is today versus the wild visions that different people in this area have for what the future of podcasting is. Is it going to be more like syndicated radio? Is it going to be more like something else, right? And what are the CPMs, and who are the ad buyers, and who's driving this, and there's big budgets over here and there's small budgets over here, and there's metrics. There's just a lot of issues that face this new medium. But there is a couple different ways to come in at it. And anyway, I kind of wanted to throw my hat and get involved in that side of podcasting, because I think that's going to propel this medium forward. And Todd, you and I have talked about this a lot. I mean, over the years that there needs to be some serious players in this space. I mean, it's only going to help everybody, I think.
I agree. And, and it's in my business standpoint, with wearing my other hat of Raw Boys, is that it's been an interesting new year. It seems like I spent a lot of time on the phone. We've had some movement in one of our products, and so, I've been talking with, one media buyer talks to another media buyer, and then another media buyer talks to another one, and then they're calling you and they're asking, okay, we're hearing you're offering this, and what can you do for us? And so it's been an interesting week, because a lot of these buyers are digital, and there's some out there that are radio buyers, and the radio buyers are probably spending as much money, or more money in the space now than the digital folks. But what I'm finding out from what the digital buyers have been used to doing is, in their traditional model is if they're buying banners, they provide banner codes, and they go on a website and they log into a system on a daily basis, and they're able to see exactly what's going on with their banner reach and their click-through rate and all this stuff.
Yep.
So the digital folks now are starting to realize that they can essentially get the same thing in the podcasting space. They can have the same type of data metrics on an hour-to-hour, day-to-day basis, and they are now, there's this data available, and we can touch it. So that's been a ongoing thing this week for us, and it's kind of surprising to me, because for the past 9 years or 8 years, the media buyers have been content with allowing us to do our own reporting, and I think that there's so many, when there was just one or two, maybe 3 players in the space that were doing any advertising, we were pretty well known, and there was not an issue. So now you've got a lot more networks. Look at the number of folks that we've interviewed on this show that have their own networks, and they're all trying to get advertising. And excuse me. So the media buyers are now like, all right, I got deals on 9 different networks, and they're all giving me measurements 9 different ways. What's the ground truth? And so we've this week has been dealing with a lot of that, and actually I think we're set up our 4th media buyer last week, and they're all doing trials. They're all running like maybe 20 or 25 shows at a time to kind of get a feel for what's available. So that from a digital side, the space is changing, and I think podcasters in the near term are probably going to be under the same, how should we say it, the same gun as the folks that have browsers. But at the same time, we've had to do a lot of discussions about the data, and I probably can share some. We did some new metric data. Angelo and I did, and something that will be coming out. I shouldn't really talk about it because it's going to be in the first podcast magazine with Podcast Pickle Gary Leland is putting out.
With Gary, yeah.
Yeah, so we've got this really extensive breakdown of the data, and I guess I won't go into it here. We'll talk about it after it comes out. But people are going to be scared when they see this data. But I guess I'll preface it with the data set that we use, the group that we pulled the data from. They had millions of billable downloads, and yet there was this percentage of data that got, I guess for a better word, tossed out. And the only reason it got tossed out is because there was filtering and other things going on that figured out what was valid and what wasn't. So I think what we're seeing, and what my points, I've talked about this a lot for many, many years, is that I don't care what the number is, as long as I know what the number is. I think the media buyers are starting to get to that point, and this, it's going to be interesting to see where this all falls out. Now, I just, from a talking with the media buyer standpoint, again, it's going back and telling them, okay, listen, this and this and this, and you can disregard that, and so they're getting smarter. So it'll be interesting to see how this year plays out. Really from that side. Of course, that's, we've been pushing this metric thing for a long time. So we're happy to see the movement because I think it's smart that there's a lot of companies that are in the space right now, but I want everyone on the same playing field.
Yeah, I mean, that certainly is true. I mean, I think, but yet there's like this, everybody wants to play the game a little bit differently. And that's just the reality, I guess, of a relatively new marketplace like this. And you're right, the media buyers are getting savvier, and they're expecting more data and more granularity on what's happening. And but the crux of the issue is that some of that granularity just it's difficult to get.
Well, the granularity is not difficult to get.
Yeah.
And the digital side, when you have digital media, the granularity is when you have X number of unique IPs, when you have a absolute flat line of, when you say, let's say 100,000 unique IPs come into to download a podcast, that can't be equivalated into, that's very easy then to extrapolate, the number. And
I think what I was trying to say was more that the granularity gets back to actual play data.
Well, the play data is in the stats, so
yeah. So it's just there's a lot of different ways that those numbers can be filtered against. Is also what I'm trying to say.
I don't necessarily agree with that, Rob. How do you say?
Okay.
How can it be? How can you filter against those numbers?
Well, we've talked about the uniques and things like that.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I guess that kind of cuts to the chase of, I think, where the industry is. I think that the numbers across the board are not that much different. I mean, if you look at everybody involved in this space. But I do I am a little concerned also, and as you are, as in what you're saying, is that the ad buyers are getting, they're expecting more, and they're expecting more granularity and more real time and those kind of things, and that's probably a natural evolution of this medium. So
Well, and I think too is what it is that they've got baselines already based upon other
yeah,
media points,
yeah,
and if they have a campaign that runs outside of the, if they the analogy I've always given is that, and it's basically if they're expecting if they spent, let's say they spent $1,000 and they were expecting 50 new customers from that, and that's just, I'm just throwing a number out there,
sure,
and they actually got 10, and they say, how come I only got 10? Well, if the reporting group overreported, it basically negatively impact the ROI. So if they actually spent
yeah,
$100, they would have said, "Oh my God, I'm thrilled. I want to spend more money." And I think in the end, what it's going to boil down to, metrics aside, if the media buyer is happy with the results, they'll continue to spend money. And if
that's
they're,
right.
and
Yeah,
if
I mean, I mean, at the end of the day, I think we can all agree that ROI is what's going to drive
right,
this business forward.
and some people can
Uh,
drive ROI and some can't.
yeah,
And
and it
that's
gets back to targeting of the messages and how effective you are of matching up audiences to advertisers. And I think that's as important as
it's
the actual
yeah,
metrics.
it's
Yeah,
probably yeah, it's
it's
equally
probably
important.
more, probably.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would say yeah, probably more, equal or more.
yeah,
And at the same time, it's they want to go with, if you're going to get the mass, if there's more money coming in, they want to get the mass. They want to do bigger buys, and that seems to be the trend right now, that buyers want to do bigger buys. Then they're going to have to really, it's going to be difficult to have as clean of an alignment, I guess, with another show, or alignment with an audience, because it's going to, it's going to start spreading out a little bit, because you're not going to get as focused of
yeah,
a
yeah.
focused of a
Well, I think that one aspect of this, and I think it's really been kind of eye opening for me as I'm thinking about this too, is the aspect of scale, and kind of the two issues that I think and the opportunities, as you think about also the history with syndicated radio too, is audience size,
Yep.
and growing the overall listener foundation or base for podcasting, just in a general sense,
Right.
right? And then there's also the opportunity to grow certain shows to very, I mean, relatively large scale as far as numbers, listening to an individual show,
Right.
versus the smaller shows that are like part of the long tail, right? That can add up to millions and millions of people listening to individual niche programming. I think we're still in the early days of large audiences in podcasting. I mean, I think you've seen it, a little bit with the Adam Carolla folks. You've seen it with, Mark Maron. You've seen it with, national public radio shows or Chicago public radios. Like This American Life. There's shows that are generating large audiences, but I think that that's still a relatively untapped area. But in order to get those big shows, to get those big numbers, we have to grow the overall base of podcast users. I don't know.
Our listeners, yeah.
Yeah. Users or listeners. What's your thought on how that could happen? I mean, is there a way for us to, as an industry, be able to grow the base of listeners? Is it usability? Is it better front end clients? Or, I mean, what's your thought on that, Todd?
I don't think there's usability issues, because people it's
Yeah.
easy now to consume. You can click play, you can, and matter of fact, that's some of the challenges that some folks are having, is when they're measuring stream data.
Yeah.
Some people's systems aren't smart enough to know when someone stopped streaming and picked it up later. So
Yeah,
I think
that's
the scale has definitely always been an issue, and it's you have some media buyers that want an audience minimum of X size. And I'm like, well, that's 1% of the
yeah,
entire podcasting space. You got maybe this many shows, 25 or 30 shows that can do that kind of scale. So you don't have a lot of shows that are pulling down 50, 100,000 or 200,000 listens per episode. There's very, very, very few. A lot of people claim
yeah,
I get it. It's something I get Todd, we did 180,000 listens last month. I'm like, okay, let's talk about that in a couple of weeks after we get you on the system, and we'll look at it. What it turns out to be is 60,000 across 10 episodes, and some of it is old inventory. So it's really kind of the scale definitely we need to get the scale up.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. No, I guess, how does this medium scale?
the only way
Is the question, right?
with average guys like you and I, I don't know, but
Yeah,
but when it comes to you're just going to have more talent, more high end talent. But the
yep,
thing is, do we really want the spaces? And that comes at a price too. Because
yeah,
I talked with a gal last week. She's a television celebrity.
yep,
We have an advertiser that wants to be on her podcast. She has a decent volume. It's a relatively new show, so she's just kind of getting started. Talked with her team and tried to help them get some
hmm
understanding of maybe a few things they're doing wrong to get to get their volume up. And so then we went to talk price, and she's I don't do nothing for under $20,000. I'm like, your audience doesn't dictate 2,000 right now, let alone 20,000.
yeah. I mean, you have to build it. You can't expect
And
it.
yeah, and I'm like, that's unreal. She said, well, I'm a national spokesperson for so and so, and I'm like, your podcast, they only want to advertise in your podcast, and your
Yeah,
podcast doesn't reach that many people yet. And she was, quite literally, her team understood, but from her perspective, she's like, I'm this big talent.
yeah,
You should pay more because I'm who I am. And I understand maybe she dictates a premium,
yeah,
but not that much more,
yeah,
because if I'm going to say, okay, so this is what I threw back at her, as I'm like, okay, so let's say we pay you 20,000 folks. I said, here's the expected return on investment. This is what the client's thinking they're going to need for new customers. And if you spout that type of money, can you deliver this many customers? She goes, well, that's more than my audience. I'm like, well, exactly.
that's yeah. I can see your point. Yes.
But
Well,
it's,
yeah, but Todd, it's common in the celebrity space to have guarantees, and that's kind of what that's all about. But in concept, I totally agree with what you're saying. It's like those folks need to reset their expectations if
well,
they're going to play in the digital space, and earn their place, not expect it up front.
or build a audience like Adam has, or
Yeah.
some of these other
Well,
folks. Yeah. And then
well, that's exactly what I'm saying. I mean, you have to get in the space. You have to earn your stripes. You can't just expect that. It's not like television where you have instant distribution,
right.
right?
Yeah.
This medium, you have to earn your distribution. You have to earn the respect of the audience in order to get the distribution.
Right.
And it's flipped it on its head, and a lot of the celebrities don't really think about it that way yet. But
Yeah.
but I think more are, and it's as Adam shows out there and other shows with celebrities have found already and are learning that that's how you do it.
Yep.
And to expect a upfront guarantee, it may be what they've been used to, but it may not apply here.
And maybe someday it will. But
Yeah, sure,
but they
exactly.
but we, they got to help build the space at the same time.
Yeah.
Hey, I did want to share something with you that I found. I don't know if you saw it this past week. Did you see about the posting from EFF?
Yeah, I've been following it little bit that they were in a situation where they were being subpoenaed by I think Personal Audio to get access to the list of donors. Yeah,
Yeah,
I saw that. Yeah.
I thought to myself, that's wow. I bet you that sent a chill through.
Well, that was the intended
Yeah,
purpose of doing that, right?
yeah,
So I don't think that the judge is going to go for it,
yeah.
honestly.
I saw that and I was like, So we're playing a little bit hardball, and but basically EFF has come out with a blog post saying that folks that donated, and I know EFF is going to fight to the last man to not allow them to get
Yeah.
that donor list, but they've offered up free legal support with the Jules Gard Intellectual Property Innovation Clinic at Stanford Law School has offered to provide free individual legal counseling to any donors to the Save Podcasting campaign who may have questions about the subpoena and or their options. And they have a number here where the clinic can be reached at 650-724-1900 or at pmalone@law.stanford.edu. Just Google, for those of you the podcasters are listening, just Google EFF fights troll demand. That would be you'll find that in Google, find that article. But
Yeah. So as the fight continues on that front.
Yeah, and we should know some news on all of this in and around May timeframe is when this is all probably going to get reviewed. If basically, I think Personal Audio is responding to the claim, and then basically the patent office will have until May to decide whether or not they're going to review the patent or something. I don't know the full process, but at least that's what was the EFF is saying.
Well, and we'll keep everyone listening to this up to date, at least with what we know is going on.
Yep. Yeah. So what's happening then with Microsoft? You've left there. People are a little bit concerned. What's the story with Microsoft and Zoom and everything?
The straight answer is I'm still getting emails from from them. So I still have an account with them right now. So we're in the middle of trying to make a seamless transition. So I've got a foot on that side still to make sure that podcast submissions get accomplished and forwarded to the appropriate people. So at the very highest level, that's being accomplished. The podcast at Microsoft.com is continuing, and there is staff on the Xbox team that is getting access to that. I think we have a team of like 2 or 3 people that are getting access to that submissions process. So your submissions will be handled in a reasonable period of time, and so there is a process in place to find a I don't know if I want to say a more permanent replacement for myself there, but there is a process to find a person that will take over a certain amount of the responsibility for the podcast area going forward. And the podcast area is not going anywhere. They have they're going to continue to support podcasting on Windows Phone, and it's I think that they have a good plan going forward into the future that will be fine. So there's nothing really to be concerned about. I'll still be in touch with all the folks over there, and if there's issues that need to be addressed, I've offered to be a resource to them to help with things over there. So yeah, there's really no news of any consequence there. I mean, other than me not working there full time.
So it sounds like you're actually still part time there at this point. But
well, I mean, a little bit. Yeah, I'd say it's more that they haven't turned off my email account yet. It's kind of what it really is. And the team over there, has questions for me, and about how to publish podcasts, how to as they run into issues.
Oh, so maybe
More, yeah,
maybe
more from an external perspective, less internal. Yeah.
so maybe that's a good thing. Maybe someone over there be like, "Wow, you've been dealing with this all this time. Maybe we should bolster this thing up a little bit."
Well, yeah, I think that they didn't quite realize all of the aspects of it that I was involved in, somewhat. So it was almost like, yeah, I mean, I had a bigger job there than I think any one individual there realized. It was really kind of an odd situation.
How
I
could
mean,
that
really.
be that you're working there and they don't know what you're doing?
Well,
Or
they know generally, but the thing is about the company you have to realize is that most, like the music and the games and the video area, they have huge teams. I mean, these people are doing very specific things, like business development, or they're doing, social, or they're doing publishing, or they're doing promotions, or whatever. I had the podcast area basically 360 degrees all myself, right? And that's just not done at Microsoft. I mean, it's just generally not done at Microsoft. So each of these people involved in different parts of the podcast platform, I was in contact with and working with, coordinating everybody, right?
right.
But when you pull me out of the mix, then all those people are like free radicals, that don't know how all this stuff connects up. So that's kind of what they're going through right now. Is they're going through trying to figure out, the glue that can glue all the pieces together, right? So, and that's, I mean, under these unique circumstances, to me, it makes sense. I mean, and that's why I've continued to be a resource to them. And I think they do have a plan I can't announce it right now, that makes a lot of sense. And I think everyone will be happy. I think what they're going to wind up doing. And Todd, you know what I'm talking about, but I can't say it yet.
Right,
so.
right. I can't say.
Yeah.
It's a sometimes it's for you moving, and maybe it's good for Microsoft. Maybe it's made them go, oh, what? Maybe we need to relook at this a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's a good thing to shake things up a little bit.
Yeah. So are you commuting then every week, or what's the plan?
Yeah, actually, next week I'm going to be back in New York City, Tuesday through Friday. The Podcast One team has a large sales force that's located back in New York, and so I'm going to be spending time at a couple of conferences back there, and then also with the team back there next week. And then the following week I'm down in Los Angeles again for a couple of days. So I'm going to be bouncing back and forth from Seattle to LA to keep this ball rolling, and then working virtually all the other days.
But that group, he's got a lot of people. They're doing more stuff than just podcasting, right?
Yeah, I mean, Norma's his company, his bigger company, Courtside, is actually involved. They own the Loveline show, and they own the Adam and Drew stuff. So yeah, they do have some fingers still in the kind of syndicated broadcast side. So they do have some ongoing ownership and relationships there, but they are moving, as you know, towards the on-demand, which is like we like to call it, the on-demand audio side. And that's an interesting thought as you think about the future. I think that the company is very much supportive of the term podcast, and that was a very attractive thing to me, to be, as a term going forward. I hear resistance to the term on occasion, but it's a pretty easy case to make that that term is going to last over time. I don't know what you think about it, but that's my position, is that I think that podcast as a term is going to going to stay with us for a very long time, but it's going to be referred to as a on-demand audio medium.
And I think too, though, just like we're doing right now, we're live streaming. There's that component, but really, you and I both know that the majority of we got
Audience,
3-4 people in the chat room, and I don't know how many people are on the live stream, but
yeah,
ultimately the views or the listens come,
on the audio,
on the audio side, or when people are either watching the show as well. There was a guy that made a comment yesterday on a blog post. He says, here's the 10 things that I basically will, if you do one of these 10 things, I'm not going to listen to your show. And he was a podcaster. If you don't edit your show, if you don't, even if you have a video, if just on and on and on, I'm like, and I'm kind of replied to him, like, well, 5 of those 10 things I do, and I've been full time in this space.
You don't do.
And it hasn't hurt my audience, and my sole income comes from podcasting. And so, what your preconceived ideas of what people like or want to listen to are two different. Everyone has different expectations. So
that's right. I mean, and everybody has different skills and talents too,
right.
And that's part of it too. I mean, I think it's perfectly fine to edit your show afterwards if you feel that that's the best way to make the best content that you can.
Yep.
It's very time consuming, and I mean, because we've done it. I did my old show. We had to do 6 different segments for XM satellite radio down to the second, but that's more traditional radio kind of practices, right? You don't have to do that with podcasting.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
But just kind of let you know what's going on here, Rob. And I know we're gonna bounce out early today because I've got a thing I need to leave at 8 a.m. my time here. But we've got some big plans for PowerPress version 6.0. Some very cool stuff. We're going to be.
Oh, that's outstanding, Todd. That's
yeah,
good.
We've got 3 or 4. It's just now we're kind of the plugin is beyond stable, and now Angela and I are like, okay, let's mix it up a little bit. We're going to be adding some more namespaces to our. We've already got a number of namespaces. We're going to be adding some new namespaces, and it's all basically in a push towards some changes are going to be happening at Blueberry that people are going to start to see roll out very, very soon. But and then we've actually got a couple of very, very cool new features coming to our stats platform, some stuff that's been requested by some clients of ours, and we're going to put that in. But it's kind of going to be an interesting year. Our team's going to have their annual retreat, and we have a retreat in Chicago in the winter. So basically, it's a working retreat. We're going to lay out what we're going to be doing the rest of the year. But poor Angelo, I've got him. We've got 3 major coding projects that are wrapping up right now. But it's going to be fun, too, and our affiliate program's getting ready to launch as well. We're now doing our final testing on our new shopping cart, and our affiliate program is going to be pretty awesome. I think I can tell what we're going to do. We're going to have 3 stages, and essentially the third stage is going to be something that no one has ever introduced in the affiliate space, at least that we've known, and I think it'll give people a lot of incentive to for the individual podcaster to push our hosting and podcast services. But we just continue to try to make it easier so folks can focus on the publishing and focus on the content, not have to worry about going into some complicated system and doing 25 steps to get their podcast published. I keep hearing this, and it's like we go forward and we go back, and everything I keep seeing is like, how come you're making it harder for me to do this? And they're not saying this to us. Because we've always made it easy for basically record, write your blog post, upload, and publish. That's been and so we're just trying to make it easier for the podcasters to focus on the content. I think that's, that as it goes back to what we were talking about a little earlier, the more we allow people to focus on the craft and not worry about the technology, the better,
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that applies to the listener side as well as
Oh, yep.
the content creator side, and I do think that it's getting better and better all the time. I mean, I think it's really going to be interesting to see how wearable computing impacts our space. I've seen some really fascinating, sketches and modeling of what maybe a really modern and cool watch, a true smartwatch could be, where it's always on our wrist instead of having to carry this phone around.
There was
It's gonna be interesting. Yeah.
At CES there was a whole section on, smartphones and smartwatches, not smartphones, smartwatches, and the problem that you're going to have, and I think with anything that goes on a wrist, is many of us quit wearing watches a long time ago.
Yeah, that's true.
And we have our phone in our pocket. And I must admit, when I'm wearing my Pebble, it is handy just to kind of look and see, okay, that text came from that person. I don't need to look at that right now. There is that quick heads up thing. But I'll be honest with you, I hate wearing a watch. To me, it's distracting and.
I'm a little concerned that it is a generational thing. I mean, I'm accustomed to it. I've been wearing the same watch. I hate to admit it, but I've been wearing the same watch since the 80s. But it's been a reliable watch. I just keep changing the batteries, and it always works. So I don't know. I would probably, if it was a sleek watch that had a really good kind of curved screen, that had a touch capability on it, that really offered some value in my life. I'm not exactly sure what that looks like in reality. And I mean, in listening to audio, it isn't like I'm going to probably be playing a podcast off my wrist, but
No.
I guess, it could be done, right? It has a little speaker on the side of it, and you can just turn it on and play it any time. As long as you're not annoying other people, and then maybe plug in, like a Bluetooth headset to it, and it's just like this little thing that's in your ear, and you can listen to content coming off your watch that maybe flows through your phone into your watch and then into your ear. But it is true. I mean, there isn't a big distinction between that and just pulling it directly off your phone.
One thing I can tell, my listening or my utilization habits have changed, because now what I do is I basically, on my iPhone, I have the podcast app from Apple loaded. And when I'm in the car, I just open that up and I click play, and of course it starts playing, and I listen to a show. Where I've changed is that oftentimes when I'm getting ready to go to the airport to go fly, I'm so, oh man, I need to remember. I physically actually have to change my mental thought now again to go out there and queue those for download, so they're actually in the phone. I don't even really worry if they're in the phone anymore. When when I'm connected. And
you can just stream them.
Yeah. Well, stream/download.
It's the same thing.
Same thing. But it is. But
truly, the experience is different.
Right.
It's instant on demand.
If we go back to the day one, that was the goal, was to be able to. The function hasn't changed. It's just now the phone isn't downloading it at night and doing it. When I'm sleeping or something, it just does it on demand. But I still think, though, sometimes from an experience standpoint, I'll get into some area where maybe the coverage isn't real good, and I lose a stream, and then I'm like, damn it, I should have downloaded it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the use case that's been in this space since I can remember. Back when I was working for Melodio, when we were making Java apps for Razr phones, there's probably some people listening to the show that don't even know what a Razr phone is now, but it was a really dumb phone. I mean, it looked cool and everything, but it actually played podcasts, right?
Right.
And people, we built this whole back-end technology, and it's actually a lot like Stitcher, that streamed audio programming to your phone over a fairly slow, edge data plan. And people would, there was always this percentage of the users, even back then, that wished that they could download, and we offered that capability. But what we found at the time is that the whole concept of streaming it was so cool that still 80 or 90% of people just streamed, but there was always that 10% that wanted to download. So I don't think that the download piece is going to go away anytime soon, because people, you can't get that reliable wireless connection. I mean, even after 10 years now, or actually probably less than that, you still can't get a reliable connection in all places. In a building, I mean, I have connectivity issues in elevators and in buildings and in tunnels and in parking garages. It's you can't get this stuff all the time as a stream.
Here's what someone in the chat room said, battery life puts me off. It's enough of a pain to keep my smartphone charged.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really, really good point.
But the Pebble will last about 5 days, so I haven't had any problems with it.
Yeah, I mean, I recently went out and got a Lumia 1520.
Mm-hmm.
It's that giant, it's a phablet phone. It's got I think it's a 3,400 milliamp battery in it, and this thing lasts for like a day and a half with heavy use. And it's nice to have that kind of capability. I do also want to say, and don't laugh, but I bought an iPhone. I have to admit it. I actually have an iPhone.
Oh, well, that's funny.
Yeah. I had to get a Los Angeles phone number, and so I just went out. I mean, I'm now cross-platform. I have to think cross-platform now. I can't be dedicated just Windows Phone, and so I've got Android devices, and so I'm fully on board the gadget train now.
Oh, that's funny. So one thing I was going to ask you, and it slipped my mind here. Let's see if I can find it. What was I going to ask you? I guess it doesn't matter. It wasn't that important. Hey, we need to wrap up here, Rob.
Okay.
So the email to, I guess, Microsoft, that's probably going to get passed over to whoever picks up the job. So that's probably going to stay good, isn't it? Or how's that?
Oh yeah,
work?
the podcast at Microsoft.com goes to a group of people at the company right now that are full time, Microsoft employees. So it's being paid attention to, and I actually still get it, but I don't have any physical way that I can add podcasts to the catalog because I don't have access to that.
You turn in
anymore.
all your credentials.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So that's the thing, but I can make sure that those submissions get, seen by the right people, right? So,
and then maybe in another week or so, maybe we'll have an announcement on who's taking over the full-time activities. We'll keep our fingers crossed.
And I'm definitely looking forward to that. So
okay, very, very cool. Well, Rob, congratulations on the move to Podcast One and everything that's going on over there. And right. I'm going to drive you crazy because you're going to be like, what's going on? You're like,
what's going on? I want to know. Well, I actually like that, Todd, because I mean, it was a big step for me to jump that way and do this, but I felt that the timing was good, and I, it's a competitive, it's kind of a competitive atmosphere in the podcasting space right now. And I just want you to know that I'm a good friend of yours, and I will remain that. And we may have competitive things going on, but but as far as I'm concerned, it's all cool.
I don't think they're at this point that I don't even feel that there's competitive stuff going on. I think there's enough for everyone to go around at this point.
I 100% agree, and I mean, it's been my goal, and I know we've talked about this in the past, that I want to bring this industry together and have people work in a positive way, going forward in the future. So I want to build an industry here, not just one company.
It's absolutely raining cats and dogs here right now.
Wow. Yeah, I've been in tropical climates before and seen rainstorms that can get pretty nasty.
The first one woke me up at 4:00 in the morning. It was raining that hard, but this one just rolled in. I love it when it rains here in Hawaii. People hate it when they come as a vacation, but we need rain too. So it's
yes, you do. Yes.
All right, everyone that's been listening, thanks for being here. And for those of you that are caught the show on demand, you can send Rob or I questions at rob@newmediashow.com or todd@newmediashow.com. And we want to thank all of you for being here. Hey, those of you that are on the stream, how's the audio been today? I made some adjustments to the audio output, so let me know how the stream's been. Something happened. We got some levers bumped here, and I had to was getting a little overdriven. But if you on the stream or let me know, that'd be great. But Rob, thanks, and
thank you.
We'll see.
And we'll be back next week. I'll plan on getting a guest on for next week, and we can get this train back on track again on getting a cool guest in here.
All right, take care, and have fun in New York. Don't get too cold.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping that there's not a blizzard. I'm actually flying in just as all the Super Bowl folks are leaving, so I think it's perfect timing.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, everyone, take care. We'll see you next time. Aloha.
Bye.
All right, let me stop the stream here. I guess the heavy rainstorm is over. All right, I'm on YouTube. See you later.
Bye, YouTube.